Welcome to another edition of Raplife Sports. Today we have another great treat for you guys. We have our former Duke player, ESPN analyst, and also former Duke coach. We have the great Jay Bilas. How you doing today, Jay?
I'm doing great, Otis. How you doing?
All right. Thank you for coming on. I don't want to do too long of an introduction. I know how you are about those things.
It's in my contract. I require a long one.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Next time I'll make sure I do a long one. This is in the contract. As you can see by my background, I'm a big Duke fan. I even got a Duke T-shirt on as well. So my counterpart here, he's being nice today. He's a North Carolina fan.
On the contrary, yeah, I'm a Tar Heel Nation, but it's all love. I just want sports back at this point. I don't matter who's playing.
Nothing wrong with being a Carolina fan. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
You got the first question? You want to go ahead, Sahara?
Yeah. Since we are talking about college, let's start with their. How do you feel about college players being paid, and also if you think they should be paid, should everybody be paid equally, or should it kind of depend on you, the star quarterback, should be paid as the cross player? So.
Well, that's a good question. I basically look at it as no person other than an athlete is told what they can earn or accept while they're in school. So no other student, no matter what their talent is, whether they're a musician or an actor or a writer, journalist, whatever, are told that they can't make money while they're in school. Just an athlete. And I don't think that's right, especially in a multi-billion-dollar business. So my belief is that the athletes should have full economic rights to earn or accept whatever they can in the marketplace from anyone. And to me, there needs to be a good reason to restrict someone from making money. As to the question about if they are allowed compensation, should everybody be paid the same? I would ask the question of in what endeavor is everyone paid the same? They really don't. The NCAA doesn't even allow everyone to get a scholarship. Some sports, actually most sports, have scholarship restrictions. So most of the players in non-revenue sports don't even get scholarships. They're paying their own way. And whether it's baseball allows 12 scholarships or lacrosse 12 scholarships, whatever it is, wrestling 4. It's really kind of ludicrous when you think about it. But I think we're moving toward the athletes getting more than they're getting, but the NCAA basically starts at zero and says, all right, you get nothing, and then we'll allow you this, maybe this, and I think they should be allowed everything. And if you have a reasonable restriction, then maybe we can talk about it. But I think the way this is being done is unfair and wrong. Right. And it's funny, the NCAA talks about fairness all the time, like everybody plays the same amount of minutes, and they tell Zion Williamson, well, listen, you can only start half the games because the walk-ons need to start some games in order to be fair. Right. They don't do that, and they don't pay all the coaches the same or all the administrators the same. It's a free market system, and the free market works pretty well for everyone else. I don't see why it wouldn't work for athletes.
Yeah, great answer. I like that.
With that question that Sahara asked, well, I want to kind of still stay with that same thing. Do you believe if the players are, being compensated, or, like in California, they've already given them where they can earn their likeness? Do you believe it will cut down on some of the quote unquote rule breakings that the NCAA has in place, as far as like making money for agents and stuff like that?
Yeah, if they change the rules and allow the athletes to earn or accept whatever they can in the marketplace, like you never hear coaches, taking money from agents. They have agents. They're allowed to do that. And but when you have everything above board, agents don't pay players. In the NBA, the NBA players pay their agents.
Correct.
So we don't need to worry about that stuff. The NCAA rules actually cause an underground market and force everything out of sight. And look, I think everybody knows this if they really think about it, but players have been taking money forever. Right. I don't think there's been a championship won where every player was strictly eligible. It's not really, no banner's been put up where all the players were eligible. Right. And strictly by NCAA rules. It'd be like asking somebody, have you ever driven over the speed limit? And the answer is, of course they have. You can't drive without driving over the speed limit. Of course you have. But we have these ridiculous rules within the NCAA structure, and we expect that the players are going to live by it. I mean, another analogy, like how many people have had a drink before they were 21? Anyone? Of course they have. And yeah, me too. And the NCAA is pretending like that kind of thing doesn't happen.
Right.
And of course it does. It's been going on since the NCAA first started in 1906, and it's going on now. And if they think it's not happening in football, they're fooling themselves. It's happening big time in football.
Yeah. Maybe even more in football. It's just, it's a lot more players from my experience. Staying with college, how do you feel with the era? Like, I feel like we're in a one and done era. When I grew up, it was more of a, stay 2 and 3 years. Do you feel this era is better for basketball, or do you, kind of when players stayed in school at least 2 years, was that a better era for just basketball in general, college and NBA?
Well, yeah, it's just different. I mean, I'm older than you guys. When I grew up, everybody stayed 4 years. There just wasn't enough money in the NBA for players to leave early. So, Michael Jordan was my era. He left after his junior year, and everybody, oh my God, Michael Jordan's leaving early. He never would have made his junior year now. And you wouldn't see guys staying as long because there's just too much money in the game to stay in college. It's really funny. For some reason, we focus on basketball players, and I'm not saying you guys, but people make value judgments on a basketball player that leaves early. But Tiger Woods only stayed in school for 1 year, and Jordan Spieth only stayed for 1 year. John McEnroe stayed for 1 year. You have players leaving early all the time in other sports, but nobody seems to care. But it's just because basketball is a more visible sport and makes the schools more money that it's ubiquitous on television all the time. So you have people that are making outside the system that kind of make value judgments about it. And there's nothing wrong with the player leaving early. I mean, I think it's better for players, for any young person to be in college, even if it's only for a year, because they establish a relationship with a university. They're more likely to come back and finish. A lot of these guys come back and finish, not all of them, but a lot of them do. And I don't think it's a negative. Like, look, Kevin Love was at UCLA for a year, and Carmelo Anthony was at Syracuse for a year. Those guys, Kevin Durant, Texas for a year. Those guys have given enormous amounts of money to their schools, and they're still really involved. And Kevin Love just got into the UCLA Hall of Fame. He played there a year and got into the Hall of Fame. I mean, that's how important these players are. And so, to me, if a player enrolls in school, they want to be there. They wouldn't enroll otherwise. And that's all you need to do to be a student is enroll. And so all this stuff about questioning whether they're real students or not, to me is there are undertones about that I don't care for, and I really don't like.
With your class, when you came in and Johnny Dawkins, and then a year later, Amaker came in, and you guys set the foundation for the Duke brand. After your class and what you've seen that's come behind it, how hard is it to play at Duke? With that bullseye on those players' back, as they're coming in, whether you're a freshman or not, nobody cares. It's just the fact you wearing that Duke, jersey.
Yeah, I guess there is some added responsibility and added pressure when the program has won so much, and you give the credit to Coach K there for the continuity in the last 40 years. With all he's accomplished there. But I think everybody knows what they're getting into when they go there, and that's why they go. Most of the guys that wind up going there are big time competitors. So I don't think it's better than the alternative. It's better than not being expected to win and nobody caring. So I think the players would rather have that sort of pressure and notoriety and to have that kind of following. You have to, but it's not just Duke. There are a bunch of places like that, but you have to kind of take a little bit of bad with the good, but the good overwhelms the bad, I think.
But actually, being a part and playing in the Carolina Duke rivalry, do you think it's the best rivalry in sports across the board? Do you think that's the best rivalry in sports?
I do. Yeah, I think it's the best in sports, period. I mean, you could compare maybe the Red Sox Yankees or Lakers Celtics or something like that. But I think when you factor in the number of years that rivalry has been at the top of the list as far as must see, and it goes way beyond, like, look, every rivalry is important to the participants, but this one goes way beyond that. Like,
Sure.
it seems like everybody's interested in the Duke Carolina game every year, however many times they play. And a couple of years ago they played 3 times. All of them were hellacious games and the highest rated games of the year. So they're fantastic. But I think the high level consistency and the level of excellence of both those programs over the years has been kind of remarkable. And then I can't remember what the numbers are. Maybe the last 50 times they played or whatever it is, they've been tied in wins and then tied in the number, or maybe it's the last 100 games, tied in wins, and they've scored almost the exact amount of points. I mean, every time that ESPN puts that stat up, you're going, come on, man, is that a joke? Like, it's exact. And so it's been that good, and all the All-Americans, the Hall of Fame players, coaches. I just don't think you can find another one that's better anywhere.
Well, we both agree with you on that. I can tell you that. If you can, now only if you can now, which Duke team do you consider the best Duke team?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'd say probably the '92 team that had Leitner, Hurley, Grant Hill, that whole crew. They were awfully good. And then I would say 2001 was incredibly good with Jay Williams and Mike Dunleavy and Battier and Boozer and those guys. They won the title that year over Arizona. Wow. And then even though they lost in the final, the '99 team was spectacularly good. They lost to UConn in Tampa, if I remember right. And they had Elton Brand and Trajan Langdon and that whole team. I mean, it was a ridiculously talented team. They won 37 games that year and were favored in the title. They just got clipped by a really good UConn team.
All right. Next question for you. What's your take, and how do you see sports just moving forward? With I call everything the new norm. We're gonna have new norms, whether it's wearing masks and things of that nature. How do you see just sports moving forward with the times we're in?
Yeah, Sahara, it doesn't look really good right now with how everything's trending across the country and the numbers of cases and hospitalizations going up, and the trend lines don't look promising for the start of football. I think we're going to learn a lot from the NBA and Major League Baseball and how that goes. But the one thing that troubles me more than anything is, look, I'll listen to people talk about, whether young people are less susceptible to this, all that stuff. I mean, I prefer to listen to the experts. I think everybody should. Sure. But we haven't had a national conversation yet about what risk is acceptable and what the metrics need to be for play. Like how many cases are too many, and what if, are we prepared for players to be hospitalized, and what if a player goes on a respirator, or God forbid you have a really negative outcome with a player? What do we do? And if we decide to play football, if we try to do that, and they need to because of the money, if they try to do that, what if you have a quarterback test positive on a Thursday before a Saturday game, and they've been in the quarterback room with all the other quarterbacks? Do you have to quarantine everybody and cancel the game or postpone the game? We just don't know all those answers yet. And it seems like we're trying to do all this by a calendar, by saying, okay, well, we're supposed to start on Labor Day weekend, and so we got to have the players back on campus for voluntary workout. There's no such thing as a voluntary workout. Coach says workout. It's mandatory. But so they're talking about, hey, these are students like any other student. Well, they're the only students on campus now. And so a lot of these conferences have said, okay, conference only play, and a number of conferences, or the bigger conferences, some of the smaller conferences, we're not playing at all in the fall. Right. The Ivy and the Patriot Leagues have said no fall sports, period. And I think it's the ACC and maybe even the SEC have said, all fall sports except football have been postponed, deeper into the fall. Well, why hasn't football been postponed? I mean, right. We think that football players are different than all the other sports. That's a money decision, and I get it. I like money too. I'm not arguing about the money, but it just kind of flies in the face of when they say, well, this is amateur sports. It's not amateur, it's professional.
Wow, yeah, you gave a lot of great, insight to that question, and I appreciate that. That's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, because I knew you would give, just things that people may not be thinking about. And I asked Ricky this, and I'll ask you, what makes that brotherhood at Duke special? Sahara's also a big Miami Hurricane fan, and the only other program I've seen have a brotherhood like Duke is that Miami football program. What makes that brotherhood at Duke so special?
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of places. Carolina's got a great, they call theirs the Carolina family.
Okay.
So there are a bunch of places that do that. But I think one of the things the one thing that has made Duke special has been the fact that Coach K has been there for 40 plus years. So, for my basically since I was 17 years old, he's been the head coach at Duke, and I'm 56 now. I mean, so that's remarkable that for that amount of time, he's been at the same place where I played. So there's a continuity there that kind of holds everybody together in a way. He's like the hub of a really successful wheel. And Duke has attracted so many great guys and great players over the years, and it's been really kind of gratifying for me and the guys my age that we've become not only friends with the guys that came just after us, but we're good friends with the guys that played 25, 30 years after us. And that's a little bit unusual, but I don't think you'd see that even at Duke if you had a revolving door of coaches. Like if Coach K left for the Lakers in the 90s or something, which he could have done, or left in the mid 2000s, whatever it was, when the Lakers came after him again. I think it was the Celtics the first time, then the Lakers. But if he had gone to the NBA or something, you'd had a couple other coaches after him. There's no telling. I don't think everybody'd be quite as connected or quite as close, or at least I think it'd be really difficult to have that happen. So with him being there, that's really been the difference, I think.
Last question for you. It's going to be my new question I want to ask everybody. What's your biggest perk you've had from, being, you can say either being a Duke player or being, an analyst on ESPN? What's your biggest perk that you received by, being in the position you've been in all this time?
Really good seats for games. I get to sit courtside. Courtside at all the games. I think the best thing for somebody, like me who loves basketball and I love learning about it, is to be able to go to all these practices and workouts and meetings and all that, scouting reports for all these teams. I mean, I learned the game in a great way from Coach K, but that's just one way. Even though I think it's as good a way as there is, it's just one way, and there are so many other ways to do it and do it right. And to be able to watch, whether it's Roy Williams or Bill Self or Tom Izzo or Tom Crean or John Calipari, you name all these guys that I'm lucky enough to be able to sit in their practices and all that. I've learned a great deal from that, and so it's been a great education. And for me, I don't feel, even though I travel a lot and I like to think I've got a good work ethic, I never feel like I've been working, because it's so enjoyable for me. It's pretty good gig. I don't complain very much.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question. My final question before we let you go is, we would love to see, can we get you back on either before the NBA draft or right after it? Because I know
sure
that's your Super Bowl. So
yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to do that. It's in October this year, which is kind of weird. Normally the draft would be over and I'd be out in California right now starting a vacation, but we're all kind of stuck in one place right now. But yeah, as soon as whenever the draft, I think it's scheduled for October 15th or 16th, one of those two days. So I don't know whether I'll be doing it sitting here or whether we'll be actually able to get out and go to Brooklyn and do it. My guess is it'll be like the NFL draft and probably be virtual, given how things are going. But I hope not. I hope we get out of this and can get back to a more of a normal life.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll check with you and your schedule and see if we can get you on just before the draft or after and get your take on the players that were going to be drafted, or if it's after the draft.
Sounds good. I'm in.
All right. And again, thank you for your time, allowing us to, be a part of our show and the platform. Just want to say thank you, and I'm a big fan. Even though you're Duke, I'm still one of your biggest fans, and this guy right there. We've had plenty of arguments about Duke and Carolina, so I want to say he's the biggest Duke fan. He's a Cameron crazy, even though he might be not look like him. He's definitely a Cameron crazy.
Well, you guys can all argue all you want about Duke Carolina. Nobody ever wins that argument. It's been argued a long time, and they're still not a winner.
Yeah. Well, the great part about doing this, like Sahara said, I've been able to meet, like meeting you now. I met Ricky at the Coach K Academy. I met Robert Bricky there. I've talked to a couple times Daniel Ewan. So I told him I feel like an honorary, in that brotherhood. So
you're in the brotherhood.
That's
got to pay your dues now, though. You're going to get the annual dues bill pretty soon. The dues are high.
Oh, okay. That's all right. As long as I'm in, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, all right. And for all our followers, and you make sure everybody's subscribing out there. With that being said, this is another episode of Raplife Sports. Everybody be blessed and be fresh.
Peace out.